Hi everyone, welcome to the atelier. This is actually my first video, so I'm a bit nervous, and English isn't my first language, but I will do my best to explain things clearly. Today I'd like to share with you the process of painting a watercolor galaxy. I know watercolor can feel overwhelming at first, but galaxies are one of the most beginner-friendly subjects. There's no complicated sketching and the process is very free. Plus, we'll mainly use the wet-on-wet technique, which creates those beautiful flowing blends that make watercolor so magical. Painting galaxies gave me a lot of confidence when I first started watercolor. So trust yourself, grab your brushes, and let the colors dance on your paper. Before we begin, let's make sure you have everything you need. We will need watercolor paints, a few brushes, and watercolor paper. I recommend cold press paper with medium or rough texture. This paper dries a bit slower, which gives you more time to blend, and their granulated effect brings depth and texture to your work. If you are using loose sheets, tape them to a board to prevent buckling, or just use a watercolor block. A spray bottle of water is handy to keep areas wet without disturbing the paint. We will also need white gouache or acrylic paints for stars. Or you can use a white gel pen, a white colored pencil, or anything with a strong coverage. And of course, some paper towels. Once you have everything you need, let's start by wetting the whole sheet with water. I imagine my galaxy with two light bands, so I lay down red and orange in those areas. If you notice your paint spreading too much at this stage, it means your paper or brush is too wet. So just wait a little bit for the paper to dry a bit, or blot your brush on a paper towel to regain control of the wetness. Around those light bands, I added darker colors. In my case, indents from blue and deep purple, but feel free to choose any dark shades you like. I started at the corners and gradually moved towards the center. That way, if the paint flows unexpectedly, I have space and time to adjust without covering my lighter areas. If the paper starts drying too fast, give it a light mist with your spray bottle. And once you are happy with the first layer, let it dry completely before moving on. You can use a hair dryer if you like. As watercolor dry, they always look lighter. That's why we will need a second and maybe even a third layer to build up richness and depth. And each time re-wet the paper, layer your colors and soften any hard edges with clean wet brush. It is possible to get the right amount of color in just one layer, but I find using this very difficult, so I prefer to do the color in multiple steps. This gives me more control and makes the galaxy look more dimensional. So once you are satisfied of the background of the galaxy, let's move on for the fun part, to make the stars. To create glowing halos, I gently rubbed darker areas with a damp tissue, lifting some paint to reveal lighter spots with soft edges. Don't worry about making perfect circles, irregular shapes look more natural. And next, I sharpened some of the light bands with a white colored pencil, which also adds contrast and depth. You can also do this with a tissue, but pencil makes small details easier. For the star field, I loaded an old toothbrush with white gouache and flickered it over the paper. The closer and harder you flick, the denser the stars. If you don't have a toothbrush, you can tap one brush against another, which makes slightly larger stars. And then with a fine brush, I painted a few brighter stars. I also filled the center of halos with white and softened the edges with a clean brush. Finally, I added some finishing touches with a white gel pen. At this stage, it is all about your creativity and intuition. And voila, here is our final work. I hope this video inspires you to try your own galaxy. Don't be afraid to experiment. And most of all, enjoy the process. The result may surprise you. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, please hit the like button and subscribe for more watercolor videos. Bye bye.